What is going on, y'all? This is Pay Me in Dividends, and today is May 12th, 2025. All right, welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, welcome to the channel. This channel is mostly about dividend investing and finding a way to generate cash flow so that you do not have to work a 9 to 5 for the rest of your life, right? So the idea here is to buy assets that generate cash flow, in this instance dividend income, and then you can use that dividend income eventually to pay for your expenses. All right, so here I have a few screenshots of dividends that I've received recently. You guys can take a quick look at these. All right, and this is just showing you guys the type of cash flow that you can receive if you invest into dividend stocks or ETFs. So if we go down here and we look at my portfolio, you can see I have 4 different positions. All right, now with this video I don't want to get too much into detail as far as the actual stock or ETF that I'm invested in. The idea of this video is to just give you guys the mindset of where I'm going here, right? So the idea is to every time you get paid, right? You get paid every 2 weeks, or you get paid weekly or once a month, however it's set up. You get your paycheck, you buy a cash flowing dividend stock or ETF, where basically you purchase a stock and that stock kicks off cash flow. All right, and then with that cash flow you reinvest it, which is the process that I'm currently in. Is I'm reinvesting all of my dividend income back into the portfolio in order to create that snowball effect or that compounding effect, so that eventually the income exceeds my monthly expenses, and then ultimately exceeds my 9 to 5 job, where at that point I now have the option to either continue working or not work anymore, and know that I have enough income coming in to cover my expenses. All right, so the idea is to never sell these assets unless it's necessary, right? And to only spend the dividend income, not the principal. And you can almost look at your dividend portfolio as an apartment unit. All right, and you can look at each dividend position as a tenant that is paying you rent in perpetuity. All right, so there's no need to sell the actual home, or in this case there's no need to sell the actual principal or any stocks. You just use the rental income or the dividend income to pay for your expenses. All right, now you'll see here May income says about $1,800. I'm actually going to get a closer to $3,000 for the month of May. A lot of these dividend ETFs, they do fluctuate depending on the performance of the market at that current time, and so it will fluctuate. But I use this website, it's called the Dividend Tracker, and it gives you a rough estimation of what your portfolio is worth if you do not want to actually log into your brokerage account, and then it'll give you an estimation of how much income you will be receiving from your dividend portfolio. So again, this video is more so geared towards people who are just starting off. Maybe you're not too sure as to where you want to start, and so I would suggest looking at 3 different things. All right, the first is a core position. So for my portfolio, the core position is SCHG. Now SCHG does not pay a huge dividend, but it does grow with the market, because the idea is you want your portfolio to continue to grow in value while it's generating dividend income. All right, now the next one I want you guys to look at is some sort of S&P 500 ETF that tracks the market as well but kicks out income. For my portfolio, it is XDTE, and again, this is an ETF you guys can do some more research on. But again, if we go back to these dividends that I've received, you can see XDTE is an S&P 500 option ETF, and it does pay on a weekly basis. You can see this payment was deposited May 2nd, and the next payment was deposited on May 9th. So this is an ETF that pays on a weekly basis. And then QQQY is an ETF that is based off of the NASDAQ 100. All right. And this one pays on a monthly basis. And then we also have MISTY or MSTY that pays on a monthly basis. And this one has a heavy correlation with Bitcoin. So I think the point I'm trying to make here is you want to have exposure in each index and possibly even some Bitcoin or some sort of crypto. So I have an S&P 500 exposure, I have a NASDAQ 100 exposure, Bitcoin exposure, and then I have my growth ETF here that is going to allow my portfolio to grow with the market over time. All right, so if you guys have any questions, please leave them in the comments. If you're curious as to how I built this portfolio, you guys ask questions in the comments and I'll let you know exactly how I did it. Now just keep in mind that this portfolio was built over the past 4 or 5 years, and I'm currently still working. And again, all I do is I prioritize investments. So every time I get paid, I make sure I put a percentage of my paycheck into my brokerage account, and then I buy cash flowing dividend ETFs that pay me either on a weekly, monthly, or quarterly basis. I reinvest that money right back into the portfolio, which allows me to buy more shares, and then eventually, maybe 5-10 years from now, I'll be at a point where my portfolio is cash flowing enough dividend income to where work becomes optional. All right, so if you guys like the idea of this, if this sounds like something that you're into, for anybody who's new to the channel, please ask me any questions in the comments. I will be more than happy to answer them. So yeah, as always, I appreciate you guys stopping by the channel, and do not be afraid to ask, anything that's on your mind when it's related to investing in the stock market in the comments, because sometimes it could be a bit difficult understanding exactly how to get this set up. But a very short summarization of how you can do this is you create a brokerage account, you look up some popular dividend ETFs, you buy the stocks. Once you own the shares, they will pay you in perpetuity as long as you own those shares. Now, once you sell the shares, you'll no longer receive a dividend for that share. So the idea is to look at it as an accumulation phase and look at the next year, 2 years, 5 years, 10 years, whatever your time horizon is. Look at that time as an accumulation phase where you do not spend any of that dividend income. You just reinvest that income back into your portfolio while also making your own contributions from your day job. And then eventually that income grows to a point where your day job is no longer needed, or maybe you actually like your day job and you can continue working, but now this dividend income gives you a bit more flexibility in order to increase your quality of life, take care of family, whatever the case is. Everyone's circumstances are different, but having more income, more abundance is always going to be better for you, right? You're always going to be able to do more things. It's a stress reliever, right? And you can kind of see the light at the end of the tunnel, especially if you're someone who's closer to retirement. All right, so I hope you guys learned something. Again, if I wasn't too clear, I didn't want to get too deep into detail as far as exactly how these ETFs work. I have an entire catalog of videos on my channel, so if you guys want to dig through that and get a little more in-depth reviews of certain ETFs, feel free to do that. But this video is just to give you a general idea of how this works, how this strategy works, how this type of investing works, and it gives you a glimpse of hope that you'll be able to retire at some point, right? So as always, I appreciate you guys stopping by the channel, and I will catch you in the next video.